Oh, welcome everyone. This is our first teaching for our day of retreat. Today is our wonderful, wonderful retreat day. Today we're just going to go over, this is a true meditation retreat. We're just going to go over some of the basics. And I thought a wonderful way to start would be to review our meditation prayer, our 7-step checklist, and the 3 breaths to let everybody know why the heck do we do that every time we meditate, or almost every time we meditate. And the reason being, so when we talk about prayers, we're a secular Buddhist group. So that means we're not so much of a religious institution as just a group that's focused on the practical wisdom of the Buddha. And so we don't really get so involved in all the ceremony and kind of religious aspects. So you might say, well, why do you do prayers to begin with? And we call them prayers, but they're really not prayers. We're not praying to someone. They're aspirations and and affirmations. We just call them prayers. It's an easier word than every time saying aspirations and affirmations. Um, and so, but we use prayers to work with our intention, work with our aims, work with our mental attitude and disposition or perspective. And so, with meditation, the very most important thing, we're always saying, what's the most important thing in meditation? It's posture, it's this or that. No, the most important thing in meditation is your intention, your attitude towards meditation, the placement and the condition of your awareness during the practice itself. And this is what a lot of people miss in their meditation practice. I'm always saying how I often teach, and there's always the people that raise their hand and they said, I've been meditating for 20 years, nothing's happening. And I understand exactly what they mean, but I also understand usually what the problem is. When I ask them some questions, I usually find out that they've fallen into a pattern of mechanical meditation, which we're going to talk about a little later, and of just kind of following the breath, but the awareness and everything just kind of shut down. You're just mechanically following instructions, but there's no life to it. It's not a living meditation. Meditation needs to flow, it needs to be alive, it needs awareness to it. It needs to have alertness and an intelligent consciousness that's there. And so that's what most people are missing in their meditation practices is that simple thing. They don't know how to put their awareness in the right place. They don't know how to work with their awareness and get the right attitude towards meditation. So how do you do such a thing? Hey, it's really easy. You say a prayer. So I wrote this prayer for exactly that reason. This prayer, 3 of the lines are affirmations, and then the first 3 or first 2 are affirmations, and the rest are aspirations. So the first is to say, this is what meditation is, and the next one is, this is what we're trying to accomplish. With that said, I often think that this prayer is the perfect answer to the question, what is meditation? So when you say this prayer, it reminds you of exactly what you're doing, exactly why you're doing it, and exactly the benefits you're going to get from it. This is important. We need to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we're going to get from it. If you're not aware of those things, again, you fall into mechanical meditation where you're just, yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm following the breath, following the breath, following the breath. Boy, that is not meditation. I don't know what we want to call that, but that's kind of just like vegetation. Can we call can we have the 2 terms? We have meditation and vegetation. So we don't want to vegetate. We want to meditate. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to just go through the prayer line by line, and I can add some wonderful insights to each one, though I think each line is self-explanatory. With our first one, we have, with a deep appreciation for this precious life and a resolve not to waste it, we now engage in meditation. And this prayer in our prayer book is in single person. So I now engage in meditation. We change it like that for the group, of course, right? Um, it's another important thing to know that I wrote this prayer for me, before I had the group. all the prayers I always write for me, for my own practice. And then, the idea is that hopefully they benefit others. So I wrote this because these were exactly the things that I was clear that I needed to reflect on before I start my meditation. To me, this encompasses the most important aspects to think about. So that's important to know. So we say, oh, with a deep appreciation for this precious life and not resolve not to waste it, and now engage in meditation. This comes from our morning prayer written by the Dalai Lama. And in that morning prayer, I think it's the second line that says, today I'm fortunate to be alive, to have this precious life. I will not waste it. For some reason, whenever I get to that line, I will not waste it, my mind just wakes up. That really gets me. And it's like, today, that's right, man. Today, I'm going to work towards improving myself. I'm going to work towards benefiting others. So I wanted to slip that in here because that line just does it for me. So an appreciation for this life and the opportunity and the potential, I have a resolve. I am not going to waste it. Right now, I'm going to engage in meditation. So to me, that kind of switches me on right off the bat. The next one, with a deep conviction in the vast benefits and importance of this practice. Now, for me, it means I know the benefits of this practice. I've researched it. I've experienced the benefits myself. And I'm telling myself, don't fool yourself. You know the benefits. You know why this practice is important. This is why you're sitting down in meditation. Number three, with the wish to develop ourselves and uncover our full potential. This is the reason we meditate. We talk about, we define meditation as mental cultivation, and better to say mental emotional cultivation, even though emotions are part of the mind. I think it gives it a fuller picture. But that's why we're meditating, to develop ourselves, to reach our full potential, and to uncover our full potential, our full value, our true love of ourselves, right? All of these things. This is awakening. When we say uncover our full potential, we mean awaken to our full potential, awaken to our true nature, awaken to our full value, our true value. Yeah, that's what awakening is. It's realizing the extraordinary being you are in every moment, and never forgetting that. Next, with the wish to gain mastery over our mind and emotions. This goes with the last one, to develop ourselves. But in Buddhism in general, every single thing that we do, I don't care what practice it is, I don't care what mantra, what teaching, what scripture, what chanting, it doesn't matter. It's all pointing at one thing: correct perception, to have the right perspective, I'm sorry, to have the correct perspective. And that means gaining mastery over the mind and emotions, right? All of Buddhism is pointed to that one exact thing. To be a Buddha is to be a person who has mastered his mind and emotions completely. That's what it is. And as we move closer to being a Buddha, we don't have to be a Buddha to feel some mastery. We gain more and more as we go along. So I'm not a Buddha yet, but I've gained a lot of mastery over my mind and emotions, and therefore experience the benefits, the happiness, the stability to it, right? Every day we improve, every day we get more of the result. We get a taste of that authentic happiness, authentic freedom. Yeah. The next one, with the wish to bring peace, contentment, and genuine happiness to our lives, we now engage in meditation. Here we're just spelling out some of the results that we're talking about. When you master the mind, this is what you get. Mastery of the mind is peace of mind. It's when the mind stops pushing and pulling, dragging us in every direction. Peace of mind, pure contentment, and genuine happiness, which is what, well, authentic happiness is truly contentment, right? Next, with the wish to awaken from mundane habitual existence. Again, the result of mastering the mind. When our minds are in control, we live in a habitual state. We live in a state of autopilot. That's habitual. That's a habitual existence. Mundane habitual existence is just the same old stuff every day, not thinking that you could do something brilliant, something beautiful, something spectacular today in a different way. The same way I'm making my omelet or making my dal, but I use some creativity. I have that mind of adventure, and that I'm just not doing the same old thing every day. I realize that I'm truly alive. And the last one, and very important, with a mature resolve to persevere in spite of any obstacles that might arise. In all of my prayers and all of my practices, I tried to sneak in the word mature as much as I possibly can. The word maturity is never used, as far as I know, in Buddhism, either the Theravada, Mahayana, Tibetan traditions. I've never seen it said. But through practicing the Buddhist teachings, to me, that's the quality that jumps out the most. That to be an accomplished practitioner is to become a deeply mature person. When we talk about maturity, I'm not talking about the kind of heavy maturity we talk about in the West of not showing emotion and being that stable father or mother figure. That's not maturity. Maturity is gaining mastery of the mind and emotions. And when you're a mature person, in this case, it's a soft maturity. It's a light maturity. It's a fun and happy maturity. In the West, we often think of maturity as a stoic quality. Stoic means, how do we want to define stoic? Like, emotionally reserved, not showing emotion, not showing, and though we want emotional stability, we want to still be happy. We want to show our good qualities, right? So when we talk about emotional maturity, we're talking about the difficult, destructive emotions we have control over. But the good emotions of benevolence, goodness, love, compassion, humor, friendship, uh, beauty of thought, beauty of action, beauty of intention. None of that needs to be controlled. That pours out of us. These good qualities, we gain control of the others. So these good qualities, what we say is our true value in Buddhism, these magnificent qualities, so those can shine out of us like a flowing stream, and we don't have to control that. You don't have to control your goodness, unless of course you take it so far it gets a little weird, like being nice. You can take niceness to the point where you make people uncomfortable, right? So I think we know how we can go a little overboard with things. But in the general scope of things, we're talking about a lovely maturity. We're talking about someone who has gained mastery of their mind and their emotions. And with that comes this great maturity and wisdom and patience and love and light, right? This is what we mean by it. So the idea is, when we recite this prayer, I don't recite this prayer every meditation. I said recite it in the morning for my first meditation, and then it kind of reminds me of everything that I have throughout the day. We also have the 7-step checklist, which also does work with getting our intention together. So I only recite this to myself every morning. And I always thought that ultimately it'd be nice if we recited this in a group where the speaker reads the first line and then everybody answers. We now engage in meditation. Maybe it's my Catholic roots, how we used to do that stuff in Mass, but that would be a nice way to do it. So again, this meditation prayer is to set our intentions, right? Okay, let me peek at something for 1 second, if you don't mind. I just want to peek at the schedule and make sure that I know what time I got to get off, because Mina is going to help us with a meditation in this. So I think, okay, that's perfect. That's how good. Okay. And we might take some time away. If we might not do our discussion group today, so we have a lot of time for our yoga. Okay. And now we have the 3 breaths. So as far as I know, we're the only ones that do the 3 breaths. I've maybe somewhere in one of those countries, Buddhist countries that I visited, somebody did like something like this. The Chan Buddhists are really good. Chinese Chan Buddhists are really good about doing kind of little exercises before and after meditation. They do together to get the body going. They're one of the few, and I think it was brilliant. But for me, so much when I do these retreats all over the world in all these places, let alone am I doing a retreat, but I'm also a teacher and I'm always watching. And often I'll take a day and I'll just watch the teacher meditating, watch the students meditating, which I advise you guys to do too. You learn a lot from watching people meditate, and you will learn what techniques work and which ones don't. Well, one of the problems that everybody falls into is we all have a tendency to collapse forward in meditation, even when we're not sleeping. And this is a problem, and people do a lot of things like they sit on big tall cushions to get their back arched, and they're constantly checking on their posture to make sure this doesn't happen. But what I found was is that most of the time for me, I didn't have a very good posture to begin with. I'd be sitting there in a teaching, just watching. But to do a nice back bend, to look up, to pull the shoulders back, open the chest, to breathe, take 3 deep breaths, do a nice little back bend, it really brings you into a neutral posture. And then I found that by doing that, I very rarely now collapse forward. So I think that this works brilliantly. And I do this every single meditation, every single one. And again, because posture is so related to the mental alertness we have in meditation, and not just meditation, but in the workplace. You know, I love teaching in my Morpheus chair over here on the other side of the room because it looks so cool. But the fact is, I sit back in it and my mind just doesn't feel alert. Now I'm sitting at my desk for this. And sitting here in this position, I feel like I can think so much better just because I have this really alert posture. So this is so important in meditation. With that said, I think in the West, a lot of times we overcompensate for posture. When you go to a Western Dharma center and you look around, people look like statues. They are absolutely perfect. And some might say, well, isn't that wonderful? But actually, I think experienced meditators say, no, it's not. Because what happens is we want to have a good posture. But when we start to enter a deep meditation, we don't want correction of posture stop us from entering a deep state. This happens often, and I caught it happening to me often, and I learned how at a certain point we use that to get going in our meditation, and we use that alertness and posture to enter the meditative state. But once I'm there, I stop looking at that. And even if I feel I'm kind of bent over or something, I don't put any attention on it. I go into that state. I let go of everything and I enter that state. So when you see great meditators around Asia, and even the teachers themselves, you'll see that when they enter deep meditation, they do the same, and they'll sometimes they look like they're kind of leaning, or but they don't try to hold that perfect position. I think that's a mistake in the West. People haven't learned that yet, so that's very important. Anyways, that's how the 3 breath works. And boy, just keep trying it and using it and see if it works as well for you as it does for me. And on that note, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Here we go. I wanted to talk about the 7 point meditation checklist. And what's great about that is, let me get rid of this other junk. You don't need to see all this stuff. Let's make my screen pretty for you guys. Okay. What's great about this is that we have all the instructors in training here with us. And what's nice is that I wanted at the same time to help them to share these a little bit more effectively. Again, I made this for one reason, because I needed it. That's it. I wrote this for the great meditator Tenzin Tharpa, who was always so forgetful. I'd find myself meditating for 5 or 10 minutes and realize, All of these important things I haven't even been thinking about. They weren't even there. So these are really important. These, again, I don't care how good I think I am at meditation. I say these every single time. And guess what? Every time I go through them, I go, "Oh, that's right. That's right. That one, right?" So maybe you're not as forgetful as I am. So you're probably a much better meditator and more mindful person than me. But I need all the help I can get. So I never refuse help. So, anyways, I did the 7 point meditation checklist. Why 7 points? Because seven's the best number to memorize, right? We all know this. I remember I was reading these memory books, How to Improve Your Memory, and it was all about grouping things in sevens, right? The seven wonders of the world. People have done it from the beginning of time. They say seven's like the maximum number you can effectively memorize. And then after seven, then you put groups inside the sevens to memorize more. Fascinating. So, if you notice in a lot of my teachings, I do these seven things. A lot of my prayers are seven lines. So, I learned from experience. Um, Now, what I noticed some of the instructors are doing, I think some of the instructors don't know the ultimate direction we're going with this, and because I didn't share it with you. But here's what happens. So uh, these are written out and numbered for everybody so they can understand it. But ultimately, like when I do these in my practice, I don't number them and I don't need the explanations because I know what each one means. So when I do these, I get in position and I say posture, hips, joy, acceptance, equanimity, awareness, engage. I do them a bit slower. I give myself, you have to accomplish each one. So you have to give yourself just a second to do that. But for me, I just say the 7 words. That's the ultimate. That's what we want people to do. How long does it take to do that, right? Takes a second. And there's only 7, are easy to memorize. But for beginners, and especially instructors, when you're teaching these, you have to number them. And the first word on each one, which is underlined, is the word. That's the most important of all of them. You can't skip the word posture. I noticed Robin was just sharing the descriptions of them all, and it was lovely, no problem. But the description is just there to teach you what the word means. So the emphasis should be on the word posture, hips, and at the beginning number them for the folks so it's easy for them. Also, don't forget to give enough space so everyone can accomplish each one. The first ones I go a little faster, but once I get to joy, acceptance, equanimity, those you got to slow down a bit. When we say equanimity, we got to give the meditator a chance to become equanimous, to slow down their breath and those, right? And then engage is nice and straightforward. That gets it right into the meditation. And for me, when I do engage and I tell myself I have to say meditating on every out breath, that right away stops me from just thinking for the first 5 minutes of meditating instead of meditating. That's usually if I don't do the checklist, when I sit down to meditate, 5 minutes goes by and I realize I haven't started. I've just been thinking, right? Maybe the same is true with you. So this one is there especially for me. So when I have to say meditating on every in breath, just for a few times through, it really gets me right into meditation right away. So I love this. It works great. And of course, they're all pretty straightforward. Posture, sit in a comfortable position, as if that string's pulling us up from the top. Hips, we rock our hips forward, accentuating that gentle curve in the lower back. If you get these first 2 things, guaranteed you have a perfect posture. If you feel that string pulling you up and you notice your lower back has that beautiful arch in it, you're perfect. That's all you have to think about. And if you notice, if you feel that string pulling you up at the top, it automatically pulls your arch in the lower back, right? So if you're worried about your posture, those 2 right there. So that's all we talk about. Now we move on to our mental attitude. The first one is joy. You got to bring positivity into your meditation. Oftentimes, your meditation will work off of the energy you bring into it. So, if you bring some joy and positivity into your meditation, that amazing fuel of joy, we're not just talking about being happy. There's a fuel that comes with joy. There's an energy that's one of the most productive energies of all things, and we want to harness that energy and bring it into our meditation. So when we talk about smile, this is an age-old advice by the great meditators. Is even fake a smile. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. By faking a smile, your body will react to it, right? And eventually, you'll find that that smile comes naturally. You don't have to give a big smile. It can just be a soft smile, but literally try to put that smile on your face. Um, and again, appreciate the present moment. We go to meditate and we treat it like it's a chore. We treat it like somebody just told us to go clean the bathroom, like it's something we must do, and we go do it. Okay, I go meditate. But the idea is we're always complaining we don't have enough time. We're always complaining we never have time to relax. This should be seen as precious time. Lovely, 10 or 20 minutes. Man, nothing but me, nothing but my mind, nothing but relaxation and recharging my batteries. Why don't we just, oh, 5 more minutes, I can't wait for my meditation. We should be just so excited to meditate and to have the opportunity to practice, right? Isn't it funny? In this program, we're asking for 2 10-minute sessions. And you know how many people say, I'm having problems getting to the second one. Think about how much time they're spending on things during their day, how much time they're on Facebook, or how much time they're doing this or that, or just goofing around. And we're only asking for 10 minutes first thing in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. Our priorities aren't quite right, are they? Okay. The next one, acceptance. This is another huge one. To sit as the open observer without striving, judgment, or concern. This is what is so important in meditation. People that have problems meditating is they can't get out of the doing mind. They enter meditation and they feel like they're supposed to be doing something. They think that they're supposed to be receiving a result right away, and they feel guilty that they're not doing, right? So this is the doing mind that we're stuck in. Meditation is there to teach us another mind, the observing mind. How to step back and just look without needing to engage, without having to participate, to just be the witness of watching the river of life go by, just stepping back. I heard a great analogy. Somebody said, it's like watching cars on a freeway. You just step back and watch the cars, right? So that's acceptance, is accepting the situation and just watching it. This is the proper mindset for meditation. If you're not the observing witness in the present moment, you are not yet in a meditative mindset. Equanimity. And this is equal in all things. Not happy, not sad, not this or that. This is just complete economy. Now, with that said, I would have to say it's happiness, even though you say, well, maybe it's not happy, not sad, but it is, it's an incredibly content and blissful state. And we do this by slowing the breath and mind and establishing an effortless contentment. So just, really breathe into those breaths as you're sitting there. You can, we all have the ability to physically slow our breath and physically slow our mind to some level. We can all do it. The problem is we can't do it for very long. We could put our attention there and slow down the mind and breath for a few minutes, but then we fall out of it. We get into mind wandering. So right away, we need to slow it down. And then we have awareness. This is the most important out of all of them. Become present while establishing a clear, alert, and bright mental state. When we say become present, again, we mean to become the observing witness, not lost in the future and not lost in the past. I am right here, right now. And I wanted to, and this state needs to be a clear, alert, and bright mental state. So many people, when it comes to meditation, they think they're supposed to be entering in some kind of deep trance where it's a mystical experience where the world dissolves and you're in some kind of bubble world of your mind. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is not correct. At this stage of meditation, later on you can enter really deep stages, but that's not what's going on now. What's going on now is we're doing the opposite. We want to try to remain alert and have a bright mental state, not to fall into some kind of trance, not to go. We're always going to gently go deeper because we become calmer, and that's the sensation. But within that, to not lose our bright mental state. And with that said, I have a really cool experiment that I want to do with everybody. So, okay, I want everybody to sit there normally. I don't want you to do anything different with your mind. Your mind is just like it is right now. Now I want everybody just to follow your breath. Let's just follow our breath in and out. Again, our mind is just ordinary, everyday mind. You're listening to me talk. You can look around the room. You can blink your eyes. You can breathe. Just breathe, everybody. Breathe in and out. You're following the breath. Yeah. It's our everyday mind. And now if the mind starts to wander away, notice it and bring it back to the breath. Again, nothing's changing. Look around the room a little bit just to let your mind go. We are not meditating. I do not want you to meditate right now. I want you to keep your regular old mental state like you're talking with a friend, but you're following the breath. And if your mind wanders, you note it if you want, bring it back. Now, without changing your mindset, close your eyes. But please keep your mind the way it normally is. Close your eyes. Imagine there's a friend next to you talking to you. This is normal mindset. This is more of the proper mindset in meditation, what you're feeling right now. We don't necessarily want to change our mind when we do it. We think that as soon as we close our eyes, we're supposed to drift away into some kind of state. This is a mistake. We don't. We want to keep our normal, alert, clear, bright mind, right? We just want to follow the breath. So though our eyes are closed, and also remember, you can do them partially open. That's a very popular technique. I teach eyes closed just to make it easy. So when you meditate, when you start meditating, I don't want you to enter the meditative state. I want you to, this is the starting point, right? And then from here, as you work with these qualities, because you become calmer, you'll go deeper, but it'll also become expansive. So we want our emotions and everything to become calm and equanimity. We want our calmness and contentment to be there, but we want our mind to expand from this state. We want it to become more alert, more aware. Your senses are expanded. You could hear more and wider. Your mental sense experiences more. Pretty cool, huh? And we want to be present. Follow your breath. Don't fall into the future or past. Now, some might say, you can open your eyes. Isn't that lovely? Yeah? You get it? Yeah. Now, some say, well, what exactly is present moment awareness? And we're constantly presently moment aware, and we don't know it. Anytime your awareness is on a present activity, or what do I write here? A present action, feeling, sensation, or thought, you're in the present moment. Remember, the mind can only think of one thought at a time. So, is when your mind is on any present activity, including feelings, sensations, thoughts, it doesn't matter what it is, boom, you're present. So clearly we're present all the time. The mindfulness movement makes it sound like we're all completely lost in thought all the time, that we run completely on autopilot and we don't know what mindfulness is. No, we use mindfulness all day long. The thing that I teach, which we're going to learn next week on mindfulness, is that we're all practicing mindfulness so much. We're already practitioners of it. We're just not aware that we're practicing it. We don't know the function. So that's what we're going to learn about. But so when you say you want to be in the present moment, well, right now, look at your breath. Right now, look at your breath. Boom, you're in the present moment. Right now, feel your bottom on the chair. Feel the pressure. Boom, you're in the present moment. Right now, look at your emotional state. How do you feel? Look for that emotional feeling. Boom, you're present, right? What thought's going through your mind right now? Look for the thought, see the thought. Boom, you're present. You can't be anywhere else, right? Now the point is that so we're present a lot of the day, but we do fall into a lot of future and past thoughts. And at those times, that's when we fall out of present moment awareness. So now you really get what awareness is, right? And it's so much easier than we thought, right? They teach mindfulness and they don't connect it with our everyday mindfulness, our everyday awareness. And it seems like some strange new activity. What does this guy have me doing, reciting washing dishes when I'm washing dishes? That person doesn't realize that this is something he does all day long. When you're really into an activity, when Alberto's teaching and he's in the zone and people are listening, he is 100% present, right? Yeah. So a lot of these things we're working on are ordinary activities. We're just trying to understand them better, and that helps. So that's awareness. And our last one is engage. And this is a great one for me. Uh, and again, I wrote this for myself, so the language is there. Focus on the breath, right? It starts us. Switch on and let go. To me, that's a magical term. When I hear that, when you guys say the checklist and I hear switch on and let go. Switch on is something that advanced meditators are so familiar with the meditative state, they can just switch it on like a light switch. And everybody's got a different trick. It's really hard to talk about because what the state of being switched on is a little different for everybody. During the 10-week program, I'm going to teach you all my experience of it, and I hope that I can get you guys to know what it is to switch on. And so, but that's what I do. I literally just turn a switch, and what it does, it for me, it turns on stillness. I can just flip a switch and boom, I'm in stillness. I'm the observing witness. I'm in the present moment. All the things we talked about. My alert, my awareness is there. I have equanimity there. All those things there they're engaged. So I switch on and then just let go of everything else. And letting go is the big one, right? In meditation, as beginners, a lot of you might start to notice that there's a tension in the mind during meditation. The mind is constantly pushing and pulling. It wants this, it doesn't want this. It wants to think about this, it doesn't want to think about that. It's an equal pushing and pulling. And at some point in meditation, you get to the point where you can let go of that. And this is what we call the suppleness of mind and body. When that mind just lets go, and you find you're just sitting there with no pushing and pulling, and there's the breath right in front of you, and you just watch it, breathing in, breathing out. The thinking process has fallen away. There's no pushing, no pulling. The mind is tranquil, and there's the breath, like it's sitting in front of you, and you're watching it, and you just watch that breath. And I tell you, it sounds so simple. It's an absolutely wonderful sensation, really. And you finally go, oh, this is what watching the breath means. Where before you were using the breath as a mechanism to keep dragging you back to the present moment, you really weren't watching the breath, you were using the breath. At this point, something changes, and you're just the observer of that breath. Nothing's pushing or pulling you away from the breath. And and then you go, oh man, I got it. Here, I'm here, and this is a great state. This is a great accomplishment in your meditation. And then you'll just want to jump back on the cushion all the time, because it's so much different when you sit there and there's no tension, and there's the breath. I'm just going to watch the breath for 20 minutes. It's a completely different feeling. So I hope that's inspirational to you all. So that's what we mean by switch on and let go. When ready, silently say the word meditating to engage your meditation, then repeat on each in-breath. I like the word meditating because it reminds me of what I'm doing. Have any of you experienced that you've meditated and you've gone really deep, and then you come out and you realize you kind of like don't even know where you are? And this happens to me all the time. And I kind of have to remind, all of a sudden it hits me, oh, you're meditating. You're in meditation right now. And so by using this mantra, it really keeping my mind on, oh, this is what we're doing. We're meditating. So it's helpful, not just at the beginning for meditators, but in advanced levels too. It keeps you aware of the activity at hand. And again, at the very beginning of meditation, it's great because it stops me from thinking for 5 minutes until I realize I'm supposed to be meditating. So it's like a school teacher telling me right about meditate, meditate, meditate. So that's awesome, right? Um, and so that's the 7-point checklist. So as you can see, this is extremely important, right? If you don't get these, there's a good chance you're not really meditating. And what are you doing? You've fallen into mechanical meditation. So that's the next thing I want to talk about. And we're only going to do a little bit more of a teaching because we got some fun stuff to get to. We got some yoga and some meditation to do. Um, so with that said, so I coined this term mechanical meditation. And what it is again, it comes from those people raising their hands saying, been meditating 20 years, nothing's happening. All I am is just better at watching the breath. And the problem is they've fallen into mechanical meditation. They're following the most basic instruction and just vegetating, not meditating. That's my new joke. I got that today. I have to write that down somewhere. Right here. Hold on, I'll write it in here. Don't vegetate. No vegetation. Vegetation. Are you meditating or vegetating? Vegetation. No, not no vegetating. So, but that's exactly what happens with everybody. Um, that's exactly what happens. We get into, and I think it comes from a little bit of laziness, but there's a little bit of a habit. In our 10 tenets of a holistic spiritual life, one of our tenets is developing to explore, to develop an adventurous attitude. And this is one of the most important qualities. I didn't include that in the 7-point checklist, and I very well probably should have. Maybe I'll put it in there. But in meditation, ultimately, to have an adventurous attitude, an attitude that, oh man, for 20 minutes, I got a chance to look into my mind, to explore my mind, to get my little flashlight out and shine it in all the corners of my brain and figure out how I work and what's good and what needs to be worked on. Um, so we want to have that adventurous attitude. But with mechanical meditation, what happens is possibly just out of laziness, we do the bare minimum. Okay, it's meditation time. We go, it's meditation time. I gotta meditate. And we sit down and we do the bare minimum, right? Okay, I set my timer. Now I'm gonna watch my breath for 20 minutes. And there's no effort, there's no adventurous attitude, there's no excitement, there's none of the great qualities that our seven step checklist tells us, like joy and a bright awareness. None of that stuff's there. It's just us plopped down on a cushion, following our breath. No wonder they don't get anywhere. How could that be productive of any kind? Again, without having the right attitude, the right intention, meditation, I don't know, it calms people down. There's always a benefit to get somebody to sit still for 20 minutes. No matter what, there's a benefit there. It calms them down. That'll definitely bring some clarity. But to get real benefit from it, we have to harness that intention. So we want to be active meditators, not vegetators. So, and what happens is we're not harnessing our full attention, and we just mechanically follow the breath without being present. So, another one of the big things when we say in awareness to be present, for me, it's like to engage in stillness right off the bat. When I sit down in meditation, the first thing I do is I go right into stillness. I engage stillness. Again, that's switch on for me. I didn't include it here because beginners have yet to learn what stillness is. But for you advanced meditators that experience stillness, when we say switch on, that's what that means. Boom. The first thing in meditation is to still the mind, to enter stillness. The others are the meditation prayer, the checklists are, we do those preparatory. But meditation begins with switch on, enter stillness. So, and right there, you're not a mechanical meditator, right? And do all the rest. Make sure your awareness is alert, bright, and clear, just like the exercise I showed you, where we don't do anything different with our mind. We want it to be as active as our minds are with our eyes open. Right now, we want that kind of mind. How to tell if you're mechanically meditating. One of them is if you're unaware of the quality of your consciousness. That's the big one. So we talked about this in other meditation classes, that a small percentage, like they often, we had our Zen teachers, and our Zen teachers were everything is posture, and they keep having awareness to the posture. And some of us really like that idea, but for me, I think they're wrong. I think that posture is important, but that's not where the folks, they overemphasize posture and they don't emphasize awareness. So all of that effort they put on posture, I put on awareness. So we look at our posture when we're beginning through our checklist, and we have it there. Every now and then you kind of check it, right? But our focus should be on awareness. So let's say, 90% on the breath, you're following that. But there's always this 10% of the mind. I'm using those numbers very loosely. The small amount of the mind that's aware of the quality of consciousness and awareness while you're meditating. The mind that reminds you, now, get that adventurous attitude, right? Be present, abide in stillness, keep it alert, keep it up. I used to say a high-pitched awareness. I often in my own mind, when I see myself sinking too far, I go like this and I say, no, keep it up, keep it up. I want some falling in, I want some calmness, but the awareness I want to increase. So in a sense, I'm kind of going like this. My body and mind are becoming calmer and deeper, but my awareness is becoming greater, more alert, and more spacious. So it's a funny thing. But again, we have this percentage of our mind that's always conscious of our awareness. Now, when you lose sight of that, and all you're doing is following the breath, guess what? Mechanical meditation. You're vegetating. At that point, you're a vegetator. And I'll put a dunce cap on you with vegetator on it to embarrass you. Um, the other one is when your breath hasn't reduced. So we follow the breath, and I've done this. If I forget to do the checklist, this happens to me. I find myself again. I fall into mechanical meditating all the time. It happens to me still all the time. If I don't have that 10% of awareness watching my consciousness, I fall into that state easily. And but what I notice is while I'm following the breath, I'll notice that my breath is normal. It hasn't fallen down and reduced into a very, very, very subtle breath. This subtle breath, we can calm the breath, and we do that in our checklist. but we don't actively try to get to the point where we're barely breathing. This should happen naturally, but this happens when you get into a deep state of meditation, that the breathing process becomes just like a whisper at some point. Never try to do it, never force it, but at some point you might see how that happens. But if you're watching the breath and you notice that the breath is just in and out and in and out and in and out the same way it always is, mechanical meditation, right? And one of the tricks that I do that's really cool is that instead of watching the breath, I watch my heartbeat. And I haven't heard of this technique out there either, but it works for me. I was having a problem staying awake in meditation, and I tried all kinds of different techniques, and for some reason this just popped into my head, and I tried it because the heartbeat is so subtle. Many people, when I tell them about this practice, they say, I can't feel my heartbeat. It's very subtle. You really have to develop some suppleness. But for me, it's pretty easy to sense it. But I have to calm my breath down to do it. If my breath is at normal speed, that masks the heartbeat. So if I'm looking for the heartbeat, my breath automatically begins to soften. So I prefer the heartbeat for my object of meditation and calm abiding. But again, it's very subtle, but to me, it's tremendous. Everything has to soften for me to do it. And then once I get on it, the heartbeat becomes very clear and very easy to follow. And with that, it really stops me from mechanical meditation. And with that said, I think that that's all I wanted to share about that. We could do uh, a quick Q&A if anybody has any questions. Please feel free. How am I doing on time? Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah. Any questions from my lovely friends? I need to get people like Mine's class. Mine's class are so engaged. It's Turkish people are. They have such an engaging mind. Everybody asks questions in her. I was like, what's she doing that I'm not doing? I don't know what. Mine.
Yeah, you commented on Zen practice about this posture.
Yes.
So for me, I feel like so when your full awareness is when you pay attention on your posture. So for me, for example, it creates a really big awareness. So it's just like I'm not just checking my posture. So in order to be in that state, so it requires full awareness actually. So I can just feel all the muscles. I feel it. So when there is a tension.
You're exactly right.
I think that's I just wanted to comment on that. Yeah,
that's wonderful. And like we always said, every one of these practices and techniques works differently for everyone, right? But the point you're making is when you're watching the posture, you're watching a present moment activity. And what does that do? It automatically brings you into the present. You have to be, if you're looking at your posture, you're being present. Okay, so maybe I should word it a little different, because I do look at my posture and things. I watch my breath, and that keeps me in the same thing in the posture. But at some point, it has to be more than that. At some point, you have to be a miner for a certain type of mindset, of awareness. You have to be the mad scientist who's looking directly at his awareness, because this is the ultimate level. These other things get us there. Watching the breath, watching the posture, make us present. But to be aware of and discern and evaluate that present awareness mind, that's where real meditation begins. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate area to work on. And it's one that I rarely hear people talking about. Alberto.
I think that the 7-point checklist is exactly what you're talking about, because it, at least for me, it really takes me from posture to awareness and then to meditation. I always feel like I'm I'm a pilot in the cabin of an airplane, and I switch on all the lights, all the commands. Posture, tuck, and then because each of the 6 points, they have a distinct feel for me. So, for example, the first 2 are physical feels. So I know when my posture is right because I feel drawn upwards, and then I feel the curve in the back for the hips. So when I say, just like you say, when I say hips and I feel that feeling, I know they're correct. And so the light switches on and I go on to the next one. And each one has its own flavor. And then the 6th one, and in the awareness and the bright mental state is just wonderful. And then I'm ready to go. So I take off, and then you have engage. So anyway, but they really have, yeah. I am talking about the lights because each one has its own color and flavor, and
yeah,
I can really connect to this thing, and they take me to different levels of awareness. So that's a nice way to do it. But I agree with what you're saying now because yes, it will start with the posture, but then it goes up.
That checklist is years in the making. I've been using a checklist like that, God, for maybe a long time, just maybe 10 years or something. And I had a bunch of different ones. First it was 3, and then 5, and then just like maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I finally settled on this one. And now meditating on it every single day, I've never felt like I needed to make a change to it. It seems perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I do that every time because it works for me every time. Yeah. So again, instructors, you understand the direction we're going. Once people get used to the prayer and the description and they know what each word represents, we're just gonna, in later classes, we're just gonna go through it. Posture, hips, joy, right? But now, number them, accent that first word that's underlined, because that's the one they need. And then we give them, I say the description in a softer voice to emphasize those first 2 things. And that'll really help everybody. But to just have the 7 words, as you can imagine, that's really easy to do in meditation, to start your meditation, right? So I say my meditation prayer in the morning, but then throughout the day, the other ones, I just do the 3 breaths. I say the 7 words, boom, I'm off and running. Take off. And then I just crash land at the end. Any other questions? Oh, lovely. So we got 2 things we're going to do. I was thinking, we have a 30-minute meditation scheduled. I was thinking, how about if we do a 20-minute meditation so we have lots of time to get ready for our yoga, right? So right now, I won't say the time because we all have different times, but in about a half an hour, we have yoga time with Ajem. And I am so excited about learning yin yoga. She usually teaches in Turkish. And she told me, Tharpa, I'm a little nervous about teaching yoga in English. And I said, well, if you're too nervous, we'll have Alberto teach it in Italian. Or, no, I'm joking. So anyways, Mina is going to lead us into, with his hands, yeah. You couldn't do yoga. You couldn't teach yoga in Italian because they need their hands. They couldn't do a position. Mina is going to lead us in a lovely calm abiding meditation. What do you say, Mina? Well, how about just doing 20 minutes today? And then we'll have about 5 minutes or so for everybody to get ready and we do a little yoga. Lovely. I'm going to leave it to you. Please take it away.
Okay.